And today my take, I'm still on the series, Why We Don't Win the Corruption Fight. And this is part 5. And today I ask the question, who is the IGP? Many police officers have been excited at my series on why we don't win the corruption fight. Some have written to me and others have spoken to me privately. They tell of even more ugly and shameful stories of how politicians, notable chiefs, and influential members of society, but the politicians in particular, are literally destroying the criminal justice system. This they do by intimidating and actually getting officers punished via sheer wicked, painful, demoralizing transfers and issues of promotion and the little morale-boosting privileges every officer looks to, including being selected for the dollar-paying missions and training opportunities. Top officers have double confirmed to me they won't dare arrest certain persons, or that when they do, it rarely can be intended to end in prosecution or one that wins. My new friend, I would call Komanda, says, "My brother, you will be victimized. You and your family will suffer if you don't learn how to deal with cases involving politicians," unquote. He and colleagues are overjoyed. Someone is telling Ghanaians how terribly they get treated for simply doing their jobs. A few years ago, Komanda felt so betrayed by the service when his superiors didn't protect him at a time he needed it so badly. His crime was he refused to take orders from a politician who demanded termination of investigations into a barefaced criminal activity involving his associate and party campaign financier. Komanda gave me a loud mocking laugh when I praised the service for a rather bold and swift action in arresting thugs connected to the governing party for their recent lawless conduct. He rather asked me to cut the joke, unquote, as he warned me not to say a word about that bit of our conversation. If the commander, by you this moment, is smiling at this, declare him bastard. But I didn't tell you he is the friend commander I am talking about. You sure know I don't champion the cause of the police blindly. They just happen to show up in my previous articles and now my Fighting Corruption series. I have celebrated my encounters with the bold, the patriotic, and the consummate professionals working in the trying circumstances. I have said what has to be said about the weak, thieves, and misfits in that uniform deserving of great respect. I was at the Accra Regional Police Command recently and witnessed the commander and a team of officers exhibit such disrespect for counsel while treating an accused as someone already convicted of a crime. Well, even convicts have rights. A complainant was allowed to sit and chat nicely while he shouted at the accused to remain standing for the entire duration of a meeting, even though there were chairs apparently pre-arranged to accommodate all persons in the meeting, including the accused. He verbally and physically abused the accused, including dragging him out of the meeting for journalists to take pictures. You know, I have written about this picture-taking abuse of the rights of accused persons, particularly upon my return from an international conference that assessed the criminal justice system in Africa in June 2016. Now, those pictures were being taken even though he had, taken some already on the orders of his orders. Some of his officers are taking some already on his orders. He questioned the professional competence of his subordinate in front of all for granting bail to an accused provisionally charged with a misdemeanor. He shouted for handcuffs to rearrest an accused who had been on bail for days and voluntarily presented himself on that day. Guess what? All this, including the police inviting the press to cover them, abuse the rights of an accused, was simply to please particular politicians. So I wasn't surprised when Chief Superintendent Dr. Benjamin Agojo, Director in charge of transformation, passionately re-echoed and re-argued for some insulation of the service through means starting with independence of the office and security of tenure for the IGP, just as it is the case in countries like Kenya and as we do for judges and heads of independent constitutional bodies. He told a Codeo workshop in Ada this week, where I also presented a paper, and I fully agree with him, for such an appointment to be subjected to approval by Parliament. He advocated a National Police Service Commission for recruitment, appointments, among others. I'll end here and ask you to visit my Joy Online to read the rest of my take for today. Next week, God willing, I'll be sharing with you a very interesting story about another security officer who started from the very bottom and rose to the very top. And I encountered him this week, and he had some very interesting stories to share. I'll share that with you next week.